Welcome to Season 5 of Own Your Divine Light Show. I am your host, Yarra Atlantica Miller, also known as Janet Miller. And the theme of this show is the divine human rising, recovering our sacred truth. And this show is an exploration of the secret truths that have been concealed from us. We are letting go of this old system that no longer works for us and has held us back from becoming the divine humans we are meant to be. Today, we have the amazing celestial advocate, galactic advocate, I should say, or ambassador, Viviane Chauvet, who is an amazing presence on our planet. And you will learn so much more about her as she is sharing her divine truth with us so that we can achieve the divine human rising. So thank you so much for being here today, Viviane. So happy to have you here. Very excited to have this conversation with you. And I'm going to tell you a little more about Viviane, but I just wanted to welcome you, Viviane. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you too. So Viviane Chauvet is an advanced Arcturian hybrid avatar, international public speaker, published author, healer, and spiritual teacher. She is the CEO of Infinite Healing from the Stars, LLC. Viviane is the producer and co-host of Infinite Star Connections podcast. She was featured in a multi-award-winning documentary called Extraordinary, The Revelations, and Viviane's collaborative #1 best-selling book series, Wisdom of the Silver Sisters, Guiding Grace and Golden Wisdom of Love, Legends and Legacies, are on Amazon. So I'm going to check those out because I did not realize you wrote all those books. You've been really busy. So Viviane is also a well-known speaker at various conferences. She's been at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, New Living Expo, the Seminar at Sea. That's coming up, isn't it, Viviane? That one is coming up for you. The
Yes.
Glastonbury Portal to Ascension, South Africa Awakening Conference. She is a busy, busy galactic ambassador. And in 2007, she went through a significant awakening in an energetic reset where she was trained by the Arcturians in holographic quantum healing, the unity field, healing power, QHHT, and theta healing. And she is an emissary and multidimensional conduit, 4-star delegations, including the Lyrians, the Syrians, the Andromedans, and other interstellar groups. She is also an emissary and ambassador for the galacticalliance.org. Love to hear more about that. Viviane offers workshops and meditation series on YouTube and the Conscious Awakening Network on Roku and Amazon Fire. For more details on her services, please visit her infinitehealingfromthestars.com. Wow, your resume is huge, Viviane. It's amazing.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much. It's such a beautiful introduction. And it's just an extract. I've always asked myself, how can we summarize the extensive of the work and the life journey work in just a very condensed resume, like you mentioned, and this collaborative book series. What is the beauty of this? Let me show you here on the screen. It's that it's the coming of many authors, including myself,
Beautiful.
together.
Love that.
It's an original concept by Sandy Rogers and Sharon Jordan, and they brought us all together and created volume 1 and 2, and it's really much mind goals of experience, stories, life journey, great wisdom. I am taking you on an intergalactic journey, of course. Others will talk about their angelic connections. It's really much so, and the book series have been so well received. The first book won an award on a radio show. We were in nomination at the Conscious Life Expo for an award for the second book. And we also were #1 in many categories on Amazon. It's just, I'm so thrilled to be part of it. And eventually, when I sit down, I will write my own book because I know my team wants me to write, which I will. But for now, I'm very happy to be part of this amazing series.
Yeah, and you've done filming, which I had no idea. You did some documentaries. So
Yes. Well, in fact, there's another one. There's another documentary coming up, hopefully in the fall, if not maybe the end of this year or beginning of 2024. It's a friend of mine. He's in LA, amazing author, very well known, even in the UFO field. He wrote the Almanac,
Oh,
Extraterrestrial
wow.
Species, the Almanac. And I worked with his amazing production company in Germany, and they're coming with a documentary based on the book. And of course, I'm going to be featured in it. With
Sure.
interviews, activations, channel messages coming through.
That's
So
fantastic. Wow. I would,
yeah,
oh, I can't wait to see that. Well, I'm going to
no,
have to
me
check
too.
all this out and make sure I watch those because you can't get enough. When you're in this work, you cannot get enough information. I don't know how people even get time to sleep. Sometimes there's so much going on that we want to keep learning and growing and expanding and, changing, shifting our frequencies. But, it's Viviane, as soon as I heard your story, I had seen the first time I saw you on YouTube, I think it might have been with even Michael Jaco. I can't remember if that was the first person who interviewed you, but it was I just knew you were somebody that was, well, obviously when you said who you were, it was an amazing discovery that you were here and that you were meant to help us shift and that you were just coming right out and saying, this is who I am. And I know that it was a big journey for you to do this and what you've been doing and shifting your body and to come in as you did. I mean, you came in basically as a human. I mean, you came in through your mother. Well, it wasn't, no, you're not a human, you're a hybrid, but you're half, what is your percentage for Arcturian versus human?
Well, thank you for asking. I just want to reset a few things in terms of semantics, because I know that right now there's such a wonderful, and I would say even empowering level of awakening. So
Mm-hmm.
while you people are realizing, opening themselves to higher realities, it is important also to allow yourself to integrate what you take on. Otherwise, you
Absolutely.
become overflowing cup of water that is just too much, and it becomes overwhelming. And then there's a retraction because it's too much.
Yes,
So
that
it's
is,
not about the information, it's about the quality of the knowledge that you bring in. So yes, I can be defined as a hybrid. There is an aspect of me, I'm going to ask, yes, aspect of me that needed to have a baseline of human genetics in order to bring in the template. I chose that way in order for me to adapt and connect with the earth plane. So it's a genetic connection, and not
mhm,
only to the earth human aspect, but also to the earth, which is giving me that foundational structure, if you want to call it this way. I have a much more higher vast majority of Arcturian DNA, and I also learned most recently that I have a little bit of sparkle of Andromedan that they have
mm,
contributed to help with their own technology and their own being, their level of evolution. Yes, yes, okay, keep talking. And so the template was made in a very high level of consciousness with different form of conscious assisted form of technology that you may not be familiar here just yet on this earth. It's much more organic, it's holographic in nature, it's
mhm.
very advanced, and everything has been done with love, precision, agreements, soul connections, integrity, and everything have always been in that alignment. This is why everything flows so much. And this
Mhm.
is why my parents are so close to me, because everything had been done in that high level of respect. And it took many generations on my mother's side to extrapolate just exactly what we need to stabilize that baseline of genetics material. Once that was done, it took us a long time. When that it was done, then they were able to create the matrix for my template.
Mhm.
And once the template was ready, so to speak, then it was conveyed in a way that I was able to consciously enter the template and come about. So I was not born in a traditional way
Right.
as you known it. That's the difference here, because the template would have been too unstable. The template meaning the body, And
Yes.
so given the high circumstances, we have
Mhm.
to make sure the body will have been stable and viable. So I would stay in consciousness in the template. And if I had to be born the traditional way, it would have not worked. I would have disconnected and the body would have been simply you know, recycled to the earth and it would have not survived, in other words. So this is why how I came about. It's complicated, it's complex, because when you are working with a being such as an Arcturian, where we are vibrating at a very, very high level, and
Mhm.
our vibration is very fast, so to speak. So to bring one of our own into a physical form, into a very condensed descending form into density called three-dimensional reality, living on a planet that requires certain qualities to be here and certain functionality, and also to feel um, the heaviness of the planet. And there's already the gravitational point of the planet is very heavy. And so it's extremely challenging. It's like telling you, we're going to send you on a mission as an ambassador to work with an aquatic civilization that coexists in the depth of the ocean. But
Mhm.
to them, this is how they live. They're attuned to the ocean, the density. They know how to process oxygen to the water. You don't. So we
Right.
need to make sure that your vessel is built to sustain the requirements of the environment in which you're being sent to. So this is very much just in a very simple form what took place for me. And the reasons was extremely important because it makes a huge difference to be physically more on the ground, so to speak. The level of influence, impact, acceleration, it's triple, so to speak,
Mm.
versus staying in this high vibration state and says, we're going to work through channels, teachers, guides, star seeds, and we're going to project our form in holographic way because we cannot be physically on the planet, but we're
Mhm.
going to appear to you as if we're physical. That's the holographic light body projection. That is the advancement of how we know how to do. But to you, it would says, well, an Arcturian came to me and I can see the being in my with my own eyes, and he
Mhm.
was communicating with me. And the answer is yes, absolutely. But we're not as physical as you perceive us. That's because it's a holographic projection that contain all of our essence, and we can interact with you at this level of reality. So just these notions, you feel it in your being, you can start to understand how advanced they are. So the complexity of bringing a being
Mhm.
of this advanced level in a world that is in reawakening state, it's really an extraordinary task. But the mission is even bigger because of what the opportunities we can co-create here. And luckily, there's many life workers on the planet, so we can work together and amplify together what we need to do. So that brings me a lot of joy and solace to know that there are so many other wonderful beings on the planet. And it's been quite a journey, and there's so much more to come for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a huge task you undertook and everything that you're going through, even physically as well, because I know you said that you've had to adapt in different ways, and you sometimes need help to adapt through your Arcturian family. And that's important because you want to be here. As you said, the impact is so much greater when you're here in your person. And I mean, for people to meet you and understand that you are a being, a real, being, and it's so much. There's no way to put words to that, really. Is that we just to get to experience you fully as you are here. So your DNA was prepared, which is so interesting. Your ancestors were prepared. I thought that was amazing. And I remember an early interview I listened to of you, as I mentioned before, when we were chatting before we started, that your father knew what was going on and your mom was also aware. They both were aware and they agreed. So nothing was secret. It was all
No,
right out in the open, which was
no,
so powerful. And, so when you came into form, your mother knew it might not be easy for you to adapt. So you had some things that you had to adapt to. And that's powerful for people to even understand just that part. Just getting that every day living is an event for you sometimes. But now we're all waking up, so it's a little easier. People are much more open to you. I know you said when you were growing up, they could be tough, because kids are tough, especially human kids can be tough. Because because children are very intuitive, they can sense when someone's a little different. So did you feel like different when you were growing up? Was it hard?
that's a great question. And I love the way you mentioned some points of the extraordinary willingness and open heart of my human parents. And even to this day, and there's still my star family still come visit them, and they will tell them, okay, the tall one is here, or they send us a message, and it's still ongoing. It will be ongoing as long as I am on the planet. It's part of the agreement. So my dad has retained all the memories. That's part of his
Mm,
gifts. They said, we're going to let you have all the memories. And we're talking about moving from 15, 16 years old,
wow.
starting as a teenager up to today. He has all the memories, everything they have taught him, show him. It's part of the gifts, and there's exchange. So growing up for me, I know I felt different, but the word different has different semantics given the circumstances. And I want to acknowledge right now for a moment all of the star seeds who've come back, even if you have a more, let's say, humanized vessel. At a soul level, the frequencies, the ability, the energy, the challenge of adaptability to a world it's moving and shifting from such a duality, separation, illusion, density, and reascending finally back to a more celestial divine plan.
Mhm.
So I want to acknowledge of this, and everybody has their own challenges, and whether it's health, emotional, spiritual. So I want to bring the context of what being different was
Yes.
in
That's
my
a good point.
situation. Is I knew that I was an intergalactic being in these forms. I
Mhm,
was entering a realm that is non-existent for us.
mhm.
It's to relearn maybe thousands and thousands and thousands of years of evolution for us. So
Right.
going back to that point of, oh, that's right. We're looking here at an entire civilization who think of themselves as tiny sparks that are helpless and forgot and floating around, where in reality they're giants. And they
Ah,
forget it. That is a visual I'm giving you.
yes,
Sometimes
I
people
love
think
it.
that much, but no, you're that much. So it's the realization to see, how am I going to bridge all of this? How can I establish ways to allow myself to function, adapt, and retain that connection and retain the purity of who I am, um, versus what I am facing, what I'm looking at. So if you look at just back the 80s or even the 90s,
Yep.
the level of consciousness wasn't there. Back in the 80s, the word hybrid was non-existent. Nobody talked about starseed.
Yep.
Maybe you can talk about Star Wars movies and Star Trek and
Yes.
E.T. That was for science fiction. It was fun, it was funny, but it
Mhm,
was it. The energy of the planet was very condensed and still in a place of duality, of identity, fear, pushing through. So there was no way, there was no vibrational support even through the planet for me to be able to blossom just yet. So I was well hidden under an identity that you know myself as Viviane Chauvet. Viviane Chauvet is my earth identity,
mhm.
right? That cover, that underneath it is the intergalactic being. So I took on this identity and I played a part because I have to learn, relate. But the thing is that even in school, the classmates, they were sitting next to and intergalactic beings, or I was sitting next to a star seed or an angelic being
Mhm.
without knowing it, but we activate each other, we trigger the energy that I emanates naturally, just being me, would trigger. And I would see that a lot where sometimes students will come to me, you trigger me and I don't know why.
Wow.
You don't talk to me, you don't look at me, but just you walking in the room triggers me. That's because they were picking up on these higher frequencies and it was too much to handle. They couldn't reattune themselves with the conflict they were going to themselves. So I
Wow.
would say, well, I'm sorry, I'm just being myself. I mean you no harm. There's really nothing here, really.
Could they?
And and it has happened and I remember those memories. That's
Sure.
because I realized by the coaching to my intergalactic, they would say, your frequencies will trigger the teacher, the students, and everyone coming in your contact. This is part of your role. You're clearing the pathway. You're helping people to heal, clear, so they can evolve beyond those point of identity. And
Wow.
that was an ongoing process. Of course, things have changed over times. And it is wonderful to watch today, so many years later, in different generation, different cultivation of consciousness, to say today, oh, Vivian, I want you on my podcast. I want to talk about who you are. It's a complete reversal, even from 20 years ago.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, yay, more power to all of us.
It's so true. You can see the evolution of humanity just through your experiences growing up with them and seeing how we all shifted. And as you say, right now, everybody wants to hear, your story and what you're doing and why are you bringing this here. So, so tell us. So what is your actual um purpose for being here? Oop, I lost you. For some reason, I can't hear you.
You're not able to
Oh,
hear
yes,
me
I
at all?
can now. Yes, I can.
Okay. I will simply to say thank you. I love this question. It's one of my favorites. So why I am here for my purpose is very much multi-layered.
Mhm.
Okay. So of course, the core aspect of my presence on the planet is truly first to stabilize the timeline of what we call ascension, the ascension process,
Mhm.
the stabilization of that timeline that is so important. We needed to stabilize first the most important timeline or historical timeline that the Earth entered into many, 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 many years ago, but it was a point where the timeline was unstable. So we came through to be able to stabilize the timeline and to create a positive vibrational shift and paradigm changes through the collective, the unconscious of the collective, into the earth history, the earth core, working with the ley lines, and the energy of the beings interacting with the earth as well, because we know we're coexisting with a multitude of different realms and beings. So my presence is really about to bring in major frequency that transmitted constantly through me, through my DNA, to my structures. Even my chakra system is a little bit tweaked differently than the chakra system that we know. I have some a little extra chakra that works in ways that like antenna, if you want, to
Mhm.
bring in the codes. And as the collective people are shifting, there's more purging, movement in the solar system, moving through the galactic core with the central sun, the solar frequency, the redirections, how the codes are being translated. So there's a lot of work at that level. I do a lot of on and off planet, working also with other delegations to bring assistance in different ways, whether it's on the multidimensional level to the parallel reality, what do we need to do? And so far, there's a lot going on. But on the earth, one another facet of my role is to bring in the umbrella of healing through transformation. So it's the metamorphosis stages that we have watched, Earth human being returning, starting to open the veil and bring in more light, understanding who they are, integrate, getting through the paradigm of fear. It's about a transmutation of the fear paradigm or the matrix of fear
Sure.
and to understand it for what it really is. So it's a grand mission of empowerment as
Mhm.
well, because the more you're empowered, the more you carry your light, the less the energy of fear will be interfering in your thought process, your co-creation, your ability to project effectively your thoughts and your
Mm.
light. And also it's about understanding that you are coexisting into different overlapping of realities. So for example, the reality I live in every day and your reality are two parallels that coexist. And today we found a point of common that says, let's get together and have a spiritual conversation.
Mhm.
That's our junction point right now. So it's to know that it's not just a reality, but it's a multitude of realities interweaved into a frame that you call third dimensional reality. And so it's to help you to reteach, to remember your faculties, your ability to perceive time, space, universe, your own universe, the decoding of your DNA, the evolving energy of your codons, how you are shifting. And so it's a lot of level and invitations to shift. So for just the last 10 years alone,
Mhm.
just the last 10 years,
Oh, yeah.
my group and my delegation have asked me to be very, very active and proactive with accelerating healing. So we have been activating and helping people to activate their own selves throughout a multitude of work throughout the world. I'm working from one hemisphere of the planet to the next. So I work with people in Africa, New Zealand, coming back here in the US and then Europe, because European aspect, there's so much healing going on here in Europe. Oh, incredible. Germany is waking up.
Oh,
There's
good.
blossoming energy there. I'm sorry?
So good to hear. That's wonderful to hear.
Yes, yes, yes. There's a lot of healing and there's still more to come. They're not completely ready for me just yet, but we're coming. We're coming. So that's another big part I can see. There's a lot of awakening. France, there's only a lot of work to be done there to shift the energy and helping them to move forward. I see that also in Slovenia. I see that also in the Netherlands, Australia. There's a lot of energy shifting, but it's wonderful to watch Germany blossoming. And that brings me a lot of joy.
Yes.
Very much so. So for the last 10 years, I have been, I would say 80% of my time, it's been lots of healing session. I mean, hundreds per month, time 12 months, time 10 years. You can see how many a lot of work have been done, building community online, starting to get more public, starting to reach the mass because the vibration of the planet start to support me better in my mission. I'm like, oh, I have a better foundation now so I can blossom and help others to blossom. This has been so far, but the next level of my true essence, the core of my mission is still yet to come.
Mhm.
And we have to wait a little bit more to allow the future timeline to be completely aligned. Yes, thank you. My Octane father is right next to
Oh,
me.
that's so nice.
Yes, and they came, thank you. And so I'm about to create the next level of the work that we have come to do here through me and also with my collective and the other delegations we've been working on so diligently. So there will be more to come, but we still have to wait for a little bit of vibrational stability
That's
to
what I
bring in forward. You feel that too, don't you,
Yes,
Janet?
yes, I do. I could understand what you were going to say. Yeah, I was going to ask you, it's probably, well, what, I know you said you had to deal with a lot of the fear. The fear is the biggest problem on the planet, I would say. And it's multiple types of fear, but it was also exacerbated since the last 3 years. And there was a reason for that.
Thank you.
Because they did not want us to move up into those higher realms, is what I understand. I mean, if that's true, how do you see, like, what is the main, what do I have to say, hurdle we have to get through now? Besides, what kind of fear do you see most of humanity needs to get through? I know you said it's empowerment, but what else do you see as our, like, to get to that next frequency? What do you think is our next, where do we have to get over to get to that next level?
Well, fear and empowerment are two opposite scale of the same
Right.
spectrum, right? It's the decoding of what fear is about. And I
Mhm.
would say, I ask many, many of my clients, what are you the most afraid of? Fear itself. And fear itself in itself is hollow, but it's the memory of a root behind it. Can be rejection related to a fear energy. It can be being wounded, judged, uh, feeling alone, unprotected, feeling unsafe. So there's a multitude of roots
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
connects to the same energetic experience. The reversal of the thought system implies you need to be willing to let go of the control of your lower mind. It's to unhook yourself from survival, primal, instinctual functioning on autopilot. Things have been this way and it's felt familiar, and I'm just going about my day,
Mhm.
moving into I'm going to allow the divine aspect of myself. I'm going to now live my life as a divine being of light, having this earth human experience. And part of my identity that I brought with me is I'm an Arcturian, an Andromedan, an angelic being. I'm a galactic fairy. I connect and talk to the dolphin. I'm a multi-species healer. Those are the identity point that you brought with you to support your divine being of light in the perfection of your soul design as you're meant to be. So we're going a bit further here into to understand your soul ancestry. So
Mhm.
that's the reversal we see more and more. Can you imagine for a moment, Janet, living your life every single day, even when you brush your teeth and you clean your house and do the dishes, knowing that these experiences is that you are a divine being of light, understanding what those experiences are.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, well, I'm just a human, and that
Yes.
word, I'm
This
like,
is,
what do you mean you're just a human? I'm like, it's one of the most difficult lessons a soul can go through. So, give it justice.
yes, and I think that's what it is. People don't realize, because of the, the way we've been held into a mind control setting that has kept us on one particular plane of thought and consciousness, the mainstream consciousness, I guess you could say. But but I do see that myself, and that's why I wanted to do this kind of work right now, to bring people like you on to help us to see. Everyone who's listening, I mean, a lot of people who are here probably already know so many of these things, but yet it's important to just keep hearing it from people like you who are doing this work. I mean, you're coming here with this specific mission to do this and to help us see this. And you're saying right now, this is what I see on the planet. So know that you are divine beings and that you are so much more, as we've heard many times, than we think we are. We're much more powerful than we think we are. We are much more, we have that God essence in us, which is who we are. We're not simply a human. We're the divine essence in a human body. And yeah, it's a powerful knowing. I mean, that part alone is a knowing to get to. And you think people are getting there now? How do you see humanity going with that?
Yes, there is more and more. Think of it as the snowball effect. The
Hmm.
last 3 years alone has triggered a global movement.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
out of the deep dark, it's pushing everyone in the highest light. And that's the reconciliation of opposition. That's what we call the reconciliation of paradoxes. In reality, the global crisis has triggered and pushed humanity and all life on the planet to move even further beyond their light. This is why it's important to come back together. It reminds me of a secret principle that the Lyrians have taught all of us for generations is the reconciliation of their triangle of polarities. As you learn from the positive polarity, you explore the negative. But instead of being trapped in a position, you bring yourself back into complete integration into the 0 point, which what we call the divine neutrality, the return into perfectly all and complete. Again, these are experiences. You're
Mhm.
coming back to your point of origin of who you are. Imagine right now, everyone, whether you are in Africa, Australia, Canada, imagine a population of a country, regardless of which one it is, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Let's imagine just one country, and the population says, we come together as a community of light, and we are awakening right now our divine power, and we says that we're changing the reality, shifting the energy of past tradition that keeps family members separated, whether you're a man or a woman,
Mhm.
that releasing the ancestral obligation has been thought. And for what reason? Those reasons have shifted. It's no longer applicable in the same way. Imagine one population of the world rising together. They will have the power not only to shift their reality right in that moment, and it's almost like flipping over the pyramid. The
Mhm.
base is no longer hanging on in the air to support a tiny portion called authority figure. It will be the opposite, and shifting that and says to the 1% who've claimed ownership of the earth, it says we are coming back into our power, and we returning into a fraternity of collaboration and partnership with each other. And we invite all of you to join into that partnership. And we are rising. The earth is ascending like this. It's
Yes.
done. It really is. But at the same time, you have to think about how many generations of same programming. Have you noticed? Depending on where you grew up,
Oh, yes.
depending on cultural background, historical background, memory background to genetics, it's the transmission, same pattern from one generation to the other.
Mhm.
And that one needs to be stopped and clear and reconciled and realize that you're not a copy paste of your ancestors or your parents or your brothers and sisters.
Right.
You are your own divine self, and says, I am the one who's going to help to clear the generations, liberate the shadow memories of it. And I am standing in my light, and said, I am here by soul design, not by replica of mimicking the same pattern, hoping to get different result eventually. No, that's part of the reversal of the mentality, shifting the mental grids, remembering more fundamental, essential truth about yourself. And we need to repeat this over and over until it becomes a new way of living.
Yes.
Just like the media is repeating the same thing over and over to create a
Absolutely.
paradox in your
Yes.
subconscious, right?
So true. So true. I mean, and that is so beautiful. Everything you just said. I mean, it's so good for people to hear that because I mean, you basically have said that everything that happened these past 3 years has really pushed us more into the light, which is so fantastic. I mean, I started seeing that myself, and I don't know if people, I think people are seeing, I mean, you see the people that you're working with are seeing this, and see, that's a big shift. And I see a lot of that. There's still some that don't, which really surprised me, but hopefully we're going to keep, radiating that light so that it's going to shift them. Will it shift them automatically, you think, or do they have,
No,
no, they have to do it themselves,
no.
don't they?
Yes.
It's not
It's
like
because
osmosis.
no. It's
They have to do the work.
it's by being a way shower, you become an inspiration.
Mhm.
And as you're transmitting like radio waves of light, yes, you will transform your environment and shift others with the understanding that even those we see that are still very involved into 3D paradigm, perhaps at the soul level, this is what they need to learn to evolve. One thing is that the beings of light always says that no matter what, a soul will be allowed to evolve. It doesn't mean it will be the same level of evolution as you think or feel it is. So maybe the vast majority of people will be ready to embrace more and more a higher frequency experience, awakening, conscious application. It's the conscious application of that awakening that also changes realities.
Mm,
And others, they're part of a soul group that needs to continue their journey in a 3D realm because they have not completely learned the lesson that the soul needs in order to evolve.
yeah.
That's the distinction here.
That's true. That is absolutely, that makes so much sense, and you've made it so clear. So it helps people to understand that. So when you're working with family members that aren't willing to hear you, all you can do is allow now. I mean, that's what many, we have to just allow them to. I mean, I tried hard to not, to help them through it, but that all fell on, deaf ears, as they say. So you just allow them. I had to step back and say, okay, it's their turn now to go on their journey, and I can't shift it for them. They have to do it themselves, as you're saying. We all have to do it ourselves.
It's just the love. The
Yes,
power of love
true.
will continue to carry
Yes.
what is important, and keep your connection. Nurture that
Oh,
connection.
yes,
You may
definitely.
adjust, exactly, you may adjust your vocabulary or your language while respecting who you are. And I'll tell you, continue to blossom more and more, because eventually they're going to look at you going, wow, look at you today. I just have been watching you and I'm not fully understanding what changed, but there's something about you. And it's just starting to crack the shell open. I
Mhm.
want to know.
Yeah.
Or it may create a resistance. That's okay, because the seeds of light will continue to germinate in
Mm,
ways that you have no knowledge of. But it's very important. Be more and more in your light. Continue to blossom.
yes, yes. And that's a very big thing for people to hear. So, what do I want to say? That there, I know there's many, you connect with your Arcturian family. So I love talking about the Galactics because it's just so interesting and exciting. Um, how do you feel people are connecting to that idea of their galactic parts of them? As you said, like when you saw the children getting triggered when you were young, are you seeing people accepting these parts of themselves more?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Not only what is wonderful to watch is many generation of star seeds are coming back to claim and be comfortable in that reality of themselves. I mean, I work with people from all generations, and whether the pioneers have come even in the 40s or even before 50s,
Mm,
and even the younger generations, younger in the terms that they came to the planet later,
yes.
whether it's the 90s, 2000s, it's watching all of those generational star seeds saying, ah, now today I can have a voice. Now today I can say that out loud. What I've always felt, even as a little girl, little boy, growing up in the country, growing up in the city, growing up in a family where I was brought in strict religion belief systems or whatever that is,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
still knowing inside of me, like I'm gonna put all this identity and keep it inside.
Yep.
Now they can open it and heal the pathway that opened that up. And this is very much a phenomenon that is worldwide, in spite of the news, the media, social media, YouTube, movies, in spite of all of this. This
It's
is very much,
happening. It's
it's
happening.
happening.
I love that. I love that so much
Yep.
because you can say it because you've been working with so many people, and it's so great to hear the validation that we are doing the work. The people are opening to the next level of higher consciousness. And, I know that we talk about 3D to 5D. How do you see that process, the 3D to 4D to 5D? Where do you see us now, and how do you see that process working through us? When you do the work, how do you see it? And how do
Well,
you?
that's a good question, Janet. And I would say that 2023, if you want to refer in time and space
Mhm.
to, based on your calendar as you understand time,
Sure.
2023, 2024, leading into 2025, you are in a very powerful pivotal junction right now, where the opportunity of shifting consciously from one dimensional experience to the next is
Mhm.
available to you more than ever. It's the time more than ever. And everything that we allow to shift, to heal, contrast, opposition, even in our body. I have clients going, Vivian, I was doing so well. Now my body is aching. I mean, I cannot breathe. I'm in distress.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
going on?
Can't sleep. Yep.
Exactly. Well, chances are that your body is purging along with you and it's creating physical symptoms in the body. So if, let's say, for example, you have a lot of grief in your heart center. Well, chances are even your sternum and the bone structures around your rib cage may even hurt. It's
Oh,
almost like your bone is moving and shifting. You go like, what's going on? That's
yes.
because you are shifting tremendously. The healing of contrast, thing
Mm.
that is deep into the subtlety of the field, deep in the memory, and we call it the abstract field of memory and history, are coming back significantly so you can resolve. We never fix anything because there's nothing to fix. It's simply a resolution and a reconciliation within you. So if you feel the energy, the difference between I want to get rid of it, I need fixing, versus I am ready to resolve, bring the reconciliation, and shift into higher state. I am at peace with it now. It
Yes,
makes a whole difference vibrationally.
it does. It does.
You can
That's
feel it.
interesting because I have been going through some backache, which I've never had before. Now I understand, and I thought it was probably, connected to some of that, but now you put the words to it, and I'm like, okay, I check in, I'm like, well, what is this? Is this, or is this that? And I'm getting a multiple answer. So I'm like, okay, it's a combination. So, but I've been working on it and it's definitely gotten better, but it is a reconciliation. That's a beautiful word. I mean, it feels peace. It feels complete when you say a word like reconciliation versus I want to get rid of it, which is really like we used to call it like stuffing it or just sticking your head in the sand and not being able to look at it. You're really not looking at it fully and clearing what I would call the charge of it, the trigger of it. You want to clear all that because there's no more trigger, right? When you can reconcile it, the triggers are gone, all those kinds of things. And now, were you talking about ancestral as well as current, those kinds of wounds, those kinds of healing, reconciliation, I should say.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's all of the above. Think of it as everything is interconnected. Your
Yeah.
body is also shifting to become clearer conduit, facility to hold those light frequencies. So there's less resistance to
Mhm.
changes, even in the solar system, to the body of the earth, the intake of energy, the frequency moving, the Schumann resonance. So your body will speak the same language of energy and light. So of course, if you carry on the unconsciously all the heavy burden of your generational line, your ancestral line, your ancestors, and even I say on the historical level, and I'll take Germany, and of course I'm going to send love to Germany right now,
Sure.
and I take all of you and I send you much love. But Germany carry a lot of historical wound, and we know
Yes.
why. We don't
Yes.
have to go back to it. That's the beauty of it, is the understanding that those wounds have been passed on from one generation to the other. And any great,
Even if they didn't partake, you still have that memory. It's like a cellular memory, isn't it? It's a cellular memory.
well, it's as I was explaining, is that it really does an energetic transfer. If you're born in Germany, for example, the history, the omnipresence of that history, those wounds that
Okay.
even the hurt the earth carry, you absorb it. It's part of you. And I see that a lot with working with people from different generations, and
Mm,
especially the generation who came after the parents or the grandparents that has gone through certain events, and we don't have to go back to it. Let's just keep it light. Certain
yes.
events. Well, that energy has been transmitting. It's almost like it's omnipresent in the field. And
Mm,
any great country, such as Germany or France and other countries, of course, that have gone through really heavy events
Yes.
or historical situations, it's still palpable to this day. That's what we need to heal and reconcile, set
Mhm.
everybody free. It's called energetic freedom.
Energetic freedom. That's
Yes,
beautiful. Yeah, that makes
thank
sense.
you.
I mean, I can look at America and the things that we've done. We came in here supposedly to, expand and settle the land. You look at England, that was an imperial power settling all over the globe, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of that. Every country has something, it seems. Everybody has something. So nobody is clear, or so all that is needing to be shifted. And so you see that shifting. How do you see it? You said Germany's shifting, different countries are shifting, so you do see a change in all that, which is very exciting. Very
It
exciting.
really is. There's a willingness, there's a heart opening, there's a desire to live other ways. There's a desire to reconnect, come back in peace and harmony. People wants to live in harmony with the earth, live in harmony with each other. There's a resistance. There always will be, until to a certain breaking point where those who are ready were just going to continue, and those who still need to learn from it will be allowed to continue. And that's the beauty. Let's keep it fluid. It's allowing souls to evolve and to
Mhm.
learn what they need the most. So that means that the earth as a celestial body, a conscious living form, her too is shedding all layers of her past history. And like we're shedding layers of the body of past history, well, the earth is the same way. This is why those historical healings are just as important as everything else.
Mhm. Mhm. So I'm going to just go a little different direction now. What about I listen to so many stories of people in the secret space program, so they claim, and all the stories of going off planet and traveling many galaxies. Do you believe this is true? Do you have any knowledge of the truth of that?
Well, it's a great question. And what I love about this is that when you look at the sole purpose of everyone on the planet, everybody has a role. My role is really much to usher people the next future aspect of themselves. So my purpose is a very different directional point than those who've come as whistleblower space
Right, right,
programs.
right.
So I I am in a different lineage of work. However, what I can share with you from that perspective is that everything has already been existing for a long time. You're simply rediscovering it. So nothing is new. None
Okay.
of it is new. Technology, medbed, secret program, Mars, moon, it's old in reality. We're
Ah,
simply rediscovering it now. I mean, just look at the solar scale waves,
mhm.
scalar wave.
Scalar waves, yeah.
Scalar wave, it's microwaves. It's 60 years old from the Roswell crash in 1947. It's
Right.
nothing new, but
No,
today
that's
it's being rediscovered and put label with quantum physics or quantum healing or quantum mechanism, and they put the scalar wave all move into a. And it's funny because I can't even say the word. It's not in my paradigm. I
that's
want to
it.
say whales because I'm thinking of this beautiful galactic group of beings are so vibrationally beautiful
Right, right.
versus the scalar waves would feel like it's wearing my energy down. So instinctively, I'm
Yeah,
moving back to higher vibration. It
yes.
is so not in my paradigm that I can't even speak
Interesting.
of it. Isn't that
That's
interesting?
It is. It's powerful to even understand that, because it just shows that you just wouldn't go there, because it's just not
No.
anything that is calling you, and it's not your vibration for sure, and or frequency, and it's not what you're meant to do here. It's not your role, and it's really not your interest either. Your heart doesn't call you there. I
No.
mean, you're following your heart calling, and your heart is taking you where it needs to go. So,
Thank you.
um, what any particular visions that you have for our human group now as we go through, like you said, 2023, 2024, 2025? What do you see happening? Do you have any future visions that you've seen that you think that we're going to reach, or is there something particular that we need to know, that humanity needs to hear to help us along in the higher consciousness?
There's no prediction. That's the thing about
No
releasing is
prediction, no.
predict. No, I'm answering the question and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
inviting you to stay with us for a moment because we have a point here. So what I want to journey with you and take you on little heart energy journey is beyond prediction. It's allowing yourself to detach because prediction has a little bit of underlying a fear of being one to be reassured that
Mhm,
we're
mhm.
okay, right? A prediction says that we're going to be
Ah,
okay. So
yes.
this is why we're helping you to shift away from it and realign yourself to feel more the pulse of the change with universal timing, universal pulse.
Mhm, mhm.
2023 is definitely a year where everyone worldwide, including the planet herself, is invited to say, it is my time where I am clearing, resolving anything that is keeping me in any shape or form in a lower state of doubt, fear, anxiety, feeling that my safety is on the line, being unprotected, or anything that retracts you into primal fear. That energy of primal fear is one of the most challenging ones to transmute, but it
Mm.
comes with practice, embodiment. Every time you feel fear and you feel your energy, it's almost like your gut is dropping down to your feet, like it's like, oh, I feel it.
Yes.
That's the time to bring yourself back to neutrality and come back to your heart. With each breath, I breathe in the light. I exhale the light. I
Mm.
bring in light. And feel your mind, your heart, your body, your life with light. Allow the intelligence of the light to dissolve that fear energy and brings you back into a higher space. What happened at that point is that you bring yourself back to being so contracted that your mind starts to get really wild.
Mhm.
And then you get so lost and distracted, and you go like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Clear yourself, bring yourself back, neutralize, and let the light to see, show me. I have questions, ask them, show me the guidance, open the field. I ask, but I receive nothing. Well, what part of you listening? If you're listening out of fear, the higher answer to the light won't penetrate because you are in a different energy. It
Mm.
is normal to be concerned. It is normal to have questions. It is normal to want to feel that everything will be perfectly fine, that you're protected, that things going to continue to evolve. We understand. And remember, I'm here too in physical body on this
Right.
earth, so I get it. At the same time is remember that you are coexisting, living with a multitude of mighty help around you. You are part of a universe that responds to your thought to a T. So when you're shifting how you're utilizing your thought energy to says, I have a concern, can we create a higher solution? This is why the universal field start to co-create with you different form of solutions, resources, opening doors that you may not have conceived in the first place because you were in a certain energetic presence like contraction.
Mhm.
So when you have a concern, breathe into the light and ask, from that situation or what I'm seeing in my life, I need a higher solution and let the universe co-create that with you. Can you imagine the difference?
Yes, it's
And
beautiful.
it really is empowering as well. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you one thing I also observe by interviews or people I interview on my own podcast or people I meet who are really working with the advanced intelligence, enlightened civilizations, you will see that it's very similar answers
Mhm. Mm.
because we're giving you a higher perspective that is
Yes,
beyond this reality here. And it's
yes.
all about helping you transforming metamorphosis into the giant of light. I like that analogy of this giant of light in the making, because from that perspective, you're going to see things feel like a giant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you feel better. I know I've started to do a little of that. So it's great to hear the way you're talking about this way to shift your thinking and to ask for the help. Help me to shift this into a higher way of looking at it instead of getting caught in that constricted way that we used to be. So it's wonderful to see that, there's so much available for us when we open to it, as you're sharing, that there's so much available for us to shift and to change our consciousness and to move into the higher levels. And it's not as hard as we think, as long as we be open to it. As you say, being open-hearted is very big too. And it's also trusting. I think the more you do it and the more you get the answers, it helps build that trust. It's like people talk about connecting to their higher self. That's basically what you're saying. You're asking us to connect to those higher consciousness, which is our higher self. That's another word. I don't know what you would call it. You call yourself, you're a galactic group. I know you say us as we, you talk of yourself as we. And I understand that, it's a collective consciousness in a way. How do you describe how you look at it with the Arcturian minds? Do you understand what I asked? Yeah.
You mean looking at how the earth evolves, so things are
Yes,
shifting?
like when you're answering these questions, you're not just answering it from your mind, you're answering it from multiple collective minds.
Yes, and that's a really powerful observation right here, Janet, and I really appreciate that, because it really is.
Mhm.
It's beyond the 3D mind. Here is I am perceiving different facets, and like I always use my crystal, I am perceiving at the same time different multifaceted aspect of a reality based on a question. And when I'm receiving from my delegation, it's a multitude of answers through image, sensation, presence. And after time, they open almost like a screen in front of me where I will see the answer being displayed. And as a conduit, then it's a verbalization of what that perception is about. Everything that we do, and I do say everything, it's truly an invitation for you to rise and remember who you are, this divine remembrance. And it makes a big difference even in the 3D everyday life. I mean, last year when my husband and I were traveling to South Africa, something happened on the way out as we were at the airport, checked out of the hotel, at the airport, luggage in hand, tickets in hand, and we were denied access to the airplane.
What?
Yes, we were
Wow.
stranded at the airport in South Africa.
Why?
Why? Because I'll tell you, I'll say
Uh-huh.
it publicly, the American Airlines who booked our airfare booked us a 25 hours layover in a country that it was forbidden by their laws. So the moving from South Africa, the connecting flight where we were going, by laws, travelers cannot stay in our country more than 24 hours. So we were access denied entry to the country.
Wow.
So the airline company says, your tickets are voided. We're not able to let you fly.
But they booked it.
But American Airlines customer service booked it this way without telling us.
Wow. So how did
Yes.
you resolve that?
How did I resolve that? Well, one thing for sure, I went full-blown humans. I
Yep.
was crying, I was desperate. I mean,
Good.
the galactic part of me was out of the window, forget it. All I see is, I wanna go home, I wanna come back to my family, to my stepchildren and my cats, and I'm stranded right across the planet, the globe, in a different
Mhm.
hemisphere. And my
Yes.
group are telling me there's something coming, there's an emergency, you're not longer in safe here, you need to evacuate the country now. They were pushing us to leave. And I'll tell you why in a moment. So we're at the airport. Thank God my husband is more grounded in this 3D reality through his angelic. And we were brought back to special customer service to the same airline company. We spent 8 hours at the counter. They were attempting in every shape and form to get us out of the country through the American airline customer service. We were hung up 4 or 5 times, as we call. It's an hour wait long. And we were like getting desperate. There was no way out for us. We were stuck in South Africa. What happened is I had to disconnect myself because I was going into a spiral. My team came and they said, you're creating density around you, and that affect everyone, even those on the phone.
Interesting.
It
Yeah.
affects everything. And that's exactly what the dark light energy wants you to be. They want you to be panicked,
Okay.
to disconnect you from your gut self and your
Yes,
intuition.
yes, yes,
So I have to release myself, clear myself, neutralize the energy, and I ask as a decree of light, out of love and gratitude for what we have done here in this beautiful country. It is simply time for us to go home. Please bring the light workers forward. I ask for the earth angels working for the airlines to come forward. And I'll tell you who saved the day is the British airline company.
Oh, wow.
Their counter was side by side with Qatar Airlines. And the Qatar Airlines were helping us desperately. They were attempting everything they could. And finally, my guide says, listen, go talk to the British airline lady. I went to see her and said, would you have anything available through your airlines to get us out of South Africa and back to the United States? She goes like, well, let me see. And she checked and they called and they communicate. And this is how we were able to leave. So we have to pay new airfare to go all the way out. All of this. So it was the next morning. So I called back the hotel and I said, we love you so much. We want one more night with you. And the manager recognized us and said, you've been so kind with us the entire stay that we're going to make special accommodation for you. They gave us a presidential suite at a
Wow.
regular price,
Very nice.
so we can afford it. And we came back to the hotel and we had a fantastic evening in a presidential suite, which I never
Wow.
experienced in my life.
But that's
And
wonderful. Yeah.
it was wonderful. The view on the ocean. I did one more blessing to the hotel, one more blessing to everyone. And the next morning we got to the airport and they said, well, you're not going to be able to fly today. And I said, why not? That's because there's a drill going on in the airport. So we're doing an evacuation drill to test our systems.
Oh, no.
Yes. And I said, no, 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 no. That's just more interference. I shine my light and I
Oh,
invoke and I
interesting.
demand the light now. And I told the agent, I said, we are flying today along with everybody else. This is just about me. It's about everybody else who needs to go back to their families. And so something shifted within 2 hours. And out of the blue, now they're going to start boarding. And we went through security with determination and light. And I said, no, 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 I stay in my light. And we were sitting in the airplane. I took a deep breath. I said, one more blessing, send the light. And when we took off, I smiled and I said, wow, that was quite an experience.
Yes. Wow. Ooh, you were being tested again.
All about the light. And I was like, no, no, no. I call upon the light workers at the airport, airlines, companies, at the hotel. They are light workers all over the world.
Oh,
And I'm
yes.
calling upon you right now through the power of the light. As you're helping us, you're receiving blessings of the light. Let's create a win-win situation that serves the highest and the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And something really traumatic and turn into something else. And
Yes.
it's watching the collaboration of two airlines side by side, communicating with each other from two different cultures coming together.
So wonderful.
It was amazing. And so
And
when we extract ourselves from the situation and we see the blessings, but when you're in it, whoo, it was something else.
sure, but you did get yourself back into your higher frequency, which just shows to us that is the way we need to stay, and that we can shift it even when we start spiraling. We can shift it, which you did, and you had the perfect example. And it's a great knowing that, you know, anything is possible. Don't give up. You didn't give up. You saw where you were going. Your guides helped you along, and they just shifted you, and everything started to fall into place. And you were gifted with a beautiful overnight.
It was incredible. Plus, the cherry on top of it is that our two beautiful point of contact, our friends, the two ladies we know there, they stayed with us at the airport for 8 hours.
Oh, wow, that's so nice.
They said, no, we're not gonna let you stranded. We're
Oh,
staying with you. They took us back to the hotel the next morning. We saw them again. It was another big hug. We were able to give more hugs to each other.
Mhm.
And so we have to look at the calling of, let's call our community, let's call our light workers, let's
Mhm.
bring the light. And by doing that, you're helping those light workers to step up in their power too.
Yes, yes, that's true. You are, and you're just showing that the light works and that it's important to stay there. It works, and you're the perfect example. What, wow, an experience. That was a big one. I understand though. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful. I know it's time. You have to go. And I'm going to ask you, I know you have a special offer. Would you like to tell that about, it's a free gift to the group, and I have it here. Let's see, where did I put it? I have, and you have your special offer, which is the Solar Christ Consciousness Meditation, which is a beautiful special free gift to the listeners. So we thank you so much. Do you want to tell us anything about that? The
Yes,
Solar
of
Christ
course.
Consciousness. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a joy to offer tools of support, to the
Mhm.
practice. Everything we talked about, when you embody, you practice it, it becomes a second nature.
Yes. Yes.
And so the Solar Christ conscious meditation came to me through the energy. I'm very connected to the solar consciousness and Christ energy, working with the masters as well. And my group says it's time to create this meditation that will continue, no matter how far in the future, to be a tool where people can have access free anytime, right here, right now. So we create this really beautiful meditation. And when we did live, and when we initially released the meditation, we had, I think it's about 150 people live on the call with us, the meditation. And then it's been watched by people from all over the world. And the link I provided, it's completely free. You're welcome to listen, be a part of your toolbox meditations,
Mhm.
helping you, supporting you. And it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can have access to it.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you so much for that, Viviane. It's a beautiful gift, and we love any kind of meditation. Just, you know, it soothes the soul, like you're saying, whenever you need that extra boost. This is a beautiful help to all of us. So thank you for that. And I just want to thank our listeners for being here. And if you have any feedback for Viviane or anything after you hear this amazing interview, it was just so powerful. And I think so many great tools and understandings that you helped me along, as anyone else listening. We all learn from each other, and it's so powerful. So thank you for that. And you can also email, Viviane anytime. All the information for Viviane will be at the, after this interview, it'll be on the email that you receive. Viviane, you are an amazing galactic soul star because of your love for beings all over the galaxies, and for being so brave and courageous for coming to Earth in this amazing form. It's a new form because you are the only one in this form that I'm aware of and on the planet right now, and to help us move into our future, our amazing future. And we are so grateful for your dedication and your love and the gentleness that you bring forth from your beautiful Arcturian heart. So we thank you so much for that. And the divine human is rising, and we hold unlimited potential and gifts as we create our new realities. Thank you again, Viviane, for your courage, for stepping into owning your divine light. as I like to call it. And as we raise our heart's frequency, know that we are nourished with the love of the universe. I am Yarra Atlantica Miller, soul name of Janet Miller, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you so much, Viviane.